What if I told you this chip clash began not last week, but back in October 2018, when Washington quietly cut off Fujin Jinhua from American suppliers, setting a new rulebook for the world's most advanced computer brains? That move wasn't just a headline. It was a clear sign that the race to control future technologies had shifted from labs and boardrooms to treaties and export licenses. Before we dive in, grab your coffee and settle into your favorite chair. We're about to mix history with modern statecraft, so take a moment to sip, to reflect, and to let big ideas sink in, because the best stories linger. Welcome back. Flash ahead to January 2025, and the White House rolled out a 3-tier clearance plan. Imagine a mailroom sorting letters by urgency. Only the top priority items need a special stamp before they can cross borders. Now swap letters for the world's fastest AI chips and the giant machines that build them. Those critical pieces now require special approval before they can leave U.S. shores. But America didn't issue these rules alone. Under a shared understanding born decades ago, the Netherlands and Japan agreed to join the effort, adding their own clearance steps for the biggest printers that use ultraviolet beams to carve circuits. In one coordinated sweep, the globe's top toolmakers discovered that these once-free machines now face new travel hurdles. That shift sent shockwaves into boardrooms. In spring 2025, ASML, the Dutch maker of those massive UV machines, reported that new orders landed at just $3.9 billion. Analysts had expected nearly double that, so executives had to curb their own outlook. It was a rare stumble for a company that usually rides well above normal industry slowdowns. Investors noticed, and they reacted almost instantly. ASML's share value slid by nearly a third over the past year, as worries about fresh clearance rules joined a wider pullback in chip investments. Picture a world of intricate machinery suddenly hemmed in by paperwork, and money moving out just as quickly. Then Nvidia felt the strain. In an unexpected note to regulators, the company warned of a $5.5 billion hit tied to unsold H20 AI chips that can't ship to China under the new rules. It's a stark reminder: when a supply chain snaps, the bills arrive fast and often in bulk. Markets shuddered again. Nvidia shares dropped nearly 7%. AMD fell by 7%. And the wider chip index slid in step as tech hubs from Seoul to Taipei braced for more trade dramas. Meanwhile, gold soared, classic safe haven behavior when global conflicts touch the digital realm. Yet the U.S. response went beyond tightening screws. The CHIPS and Science Act of 2022 unlocked over $50 billion for U.S. plants and labs, with clear guidelines that new facilities must rise on American soil. In conference rooms and college corridors from New York to Arizona, the directive was clear. If the world wants cutting-edge chips, build them here. Micron seized its share of the funds, signing up for more than $6 billion in support for new factories in New York and Idaho. Those gleaming buildings aren't just concrete and steel. They represent a bet that the U.S. can rebuild the strength it lost when so many plants moved overseas. Meanwhile, in Beijing, plans remain on track to use nearly $110 billion on equipment in 2025, only dipping a few percent from last year, according to industry groups. But without the very latest machines, China's factories lean on older lines and generous state backing to keep the circuits flowing. Dig a little deeper, and you see why the gap endures. Huawei's latest AI accelerator, known as the Ascend 920C, runs on technology that's 2 or 3 generations behind the hottest designs. It lacks the top-tier memory chips and optical tricks that give Nvidia's biggest units their raw edge. In high-stakes computing, money can push projects forward, but it can't instantly shrink the distance to the cutting edge. China's true wildcard is talent. Over 40% of its university grads earn degrees in science, technology, and related fields. More than 3 million new minds each year. But experts say, closing a 2 or 3 generation gap takes more than fresh faces. It takes years of steady experiments, shared know-how, and endless late-night lab sessions. That challenge has a historical echo. In the 1980s, the U.S. froze out Japanese tool exports to protect its own machine tool shops, only to spark a renaissance in Kyoto and Nagoya that redefined auto and electronics centers worldwide. Today's chip embargo is less a blockade than a strategic delay. Buy time for U.S. fabs to rev up and for allied nations to shore up their own lines. Here's a contrarian twist. These clearance rules won't snuff out creativity. Instead, they'll nudge chip makers toward mature lines that flood the mass market with good enough AI chips, brightening screens on phones, cars, and smart gadgets that sway to new tunes of intelligence. Meanwhile, U.S. incentives aim to lock in breakthroughs in areas like light-based computing, custom microarchitectures, and open-source designs. So where should you turn your ears and eyes next? First, listen for any whispers that ASML will set up service hubs or training centers in Texas. Signs that Washington's leverage is turning into real on-the-ground presence. Second, watch Nvidia's license approval stats. If the strictest tiers ease, China orders could flood back in. Third, track monthly equipment spend updates from industry groups. Another dip signals real strain. A bounce hints at stealth workarounds. And don't overlook the rumor mill in Washington. If lawmakers tweak the CHIPS rules or a new Commerce Department chief speeds up clearance on less critical tools, you'll see chip stocks leap a day or two before the mainstream picks up the story. This isn't just a tussle over silicon. It's a clash for who writes the rulebook on tomorrow's intelligent world. America's mix of tough export bars and big budget home builds could redraw the map of global tech leadership for a generation. Will U.S. moves secure a fresh era of innovation on home soil? Or will they simply spark a richer, self-reliant ecosystem on the other side? Drop your take in the comments. What single move will tip the scales? History rhymes. Power rebrands. Stay inquisitive. If this deep dive gave you a new angle on the hidden conflicts shaping our future, hit like and subscribe for more sharp takes. Share this with someone who still thinks chips are just tiny squares in a board. I'll see you in the next deep dive into our complex global landscape.